I'd say this isn't usually the type of story that's of any interest to me, although as a UK citizen, in hindsight, because it's an old story to date, I think it's something that's worth a moment of our time. So, this is the Sentebale story. Meghan and Harry and the chairwoman's fallout over some shenanigans on the day. From what I understand, we'll get to that. So, from what I understand, the fallout was sort of instigated during the photo shoot where they were doing the main photo shoot and they had a trophy. You had Harry, Meghan, and the chairwoman, three of them central to the picture, and Meghan had other plans, unbeknownst to the chairwoman. And one of her celebrity mates, the Williams sisters, was on stage and she wanted her to be next to her in the picture, I do believe. And that's where it all kind of went pear-shaped, followed by some, well, allegations of bullying from the Sussex's team towards the chairwoman, and it just went pear-shaped from that point onwards. Yeah, see what the media have to say.
Sophie, thank you for talking to us. Sophie, you and I have known each other for many years, particularly working on diversity and corporate leadership, but I've never had any.
Dreaming of living room furniture?
The little
huge big story over the weekend, front pages of many of the papers, even still today, was what's going on at his Sentebale charity, a charity set up in southern Africa, basically, in memory of his mother Diana. And it's been a really important charity. It's done some great work for kids, particularly kids suffering from AIDS and HIV, and in a country where it's certainly in Lesotho, in South Africa, everything, Botswana, absolutely rife, and people often basically spurn advice from society if they do get AIDS or HIV. Now, we have this ridiculous scenario where we've had a massive falling out between Prince Harry and the board of trustees, and he's a patron of the charity, obviously, and the woman running the charity. Huge big falling out. And we kind of heard Prince Harry's version of events last week that actually, they'd no longer had trust in the charity boss, the chief executive. They asked her to go and she won't go. She'd actually even gone to the courts here to try and stop from going. She did an interview with Sky yesterday. This is Dr. Sophie Chandauka. I mean, she's a British trained lawyer, but she runs charity, used to work for the charity many years ago as well, after it was set up early on. And she's accused the Prince and other members of the board of harassment and bullying at scale, of unleashing the whole Sussex, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex PR machine against her, and saying that actually, some of the things that Prince...
Some heavy allegations.
Harry has done, when it comes to things like arranging these, absurd big sort of charity polo matches, wanting to bring along his Netflix film crew meant that they lost a venue. It cost them lots more money. Meghan had been unhappy that she got bad publicity after she appeared to ask the charity boss, basically, can you move away? I want to stand next to Harry when he's got the trophy from this polo match. And that she refused to put out a statement saying, no, Meghan didn't do anything of the sort, no problem here. And she refused to do that, and she's being punished for it. There's allegations of sexism, racism, bullying, harassment. What do you make of it?
Do you know what? Sophie Chandauka deserves a medal because she's done something that I never thought would be possible, which is to get me to sympathise with Prince Harry. I never thought it would happen. This woman has gone because, attempt to get rid of her because the entire rest of the board, who are all the old royal people, these aren't Harry's new mates, these are the old mates, have said, look, you've gone off, you've spent hundreds of thousands of pounds, you've raised nothing, it's all bad. We've not
raised any money because Harry's kind of got a bit
raised the vast.
They do have the actual form.
And
it appears they don't. So I'll tell you what, I will locate this clip.
Over the weekend, the U.S. began direct negotiations with Iran in Oman. We can put this first element up on the screen. An interview that
Huge big story over the weekend, front pages of many of the papers, even still today, was what's going on at his Sentebale charity, a charity set up in Southern Africa, basically, in memory of his mother, Diana. And it's been a really important charity. It's done some great work for kids, particularly kids suffering from AIDS and HIV, and in a country where it's...
Maybe here.
This is what it's like to travel on your terms. Hertz, let's go.
Whatever the outcome of the big family discussions which now roll on into the weekend, there's one charity Prince Harry will continue to support, whatever is decided about his future role. Sentebale was founded by Harry in 2006. He'd spent a gap year in Lesotho and had been shocked by the HIV/AIDS epidemic in southern Africa.
It's a long trek, but I'll do the most I can to come out here as often as I can, just to see the kids.
Don't be surprised then that despite everything going on, Harry and Meghan, firms like
clip where we have Miss Chandauka saying her bit, because that's what I'd like to hear, what she had to say. Sentebale chairwoman. Okay, here we go.
I've never had anything to do with your work with Prince Harry. So let's just start with the origins of Sentebale. What was the point? What was the aim of setting it up?
Well, first of all, thank you so much, Trevor, for having us here on behalf of the entire Sentebale organization, 540 strong. This is an opportunity for us to just set the record straight and also talk about the future of Sentebale. But where did it begin? Sentebale started as a very urgent response to the urgent need for those who were impacted by HIV and AIDS in Lesotho to be taken care of. Prince Harry and Princess thought that they were uniquely placed to respond to the needs of orphans and vulnerable children, and this was in 2006. Lesotho is a very small country that's within South Africa itself. But as you roll on to 2024, the issues in Southern Africa are actually quite different. HIV and AIDS is no longer a death sentence. And so our organization is really looking at those other elements in the ecosystem that affect the health and well-being of young people. And so at Sentebale, we're focused on health, on wealth, and on climate resilience of young people in Lesotho and Botswana.
Okay, over time, it's built to be quite a big outfit. It's a multi-million-dollar outfit, I think. You were on the board for 6 years, and you've been more on board more recently. Sophie, let me start with you. When you came back as chair in 2023, what did you think was going wrong?
Now, I'm going to answer this very frankly, but I just want to say normally I wouldn't want to discuss family business in this way in an open forum. But here we are, and I'll do my best to be frank in my disclosure. So when I arrived in July in 2023, of course, the first thing you do is you open the annual report, you look at the board minutes to see what it is that's going on in the organization. When you look at the I did a 7-year historical review of the financials, looking at our costs and looking at our revenue, so income. It was pretty obvious to me that we had lost quite a number of corporate sponsors, we'd lost some families, and we'd lost individuals who were donating to the organization. And there was quite a significant correlation between the time the organization started to see a departure of sort of major organizations and Prince Harry's departure from the UK itself. When you look at the board minutes, though, there is no discussion about what's happening with respect to some of our most significant funders. And then when you discuss with the senior executive team and ask why there isn't a conversation about this, the answer is it's really difficult to have this conversation because the instruction was it's an uncomfortable conversation to have with Prince Harry in the room.
So the central point here is when you look at the risk register of the charity and funding, number one risk is that's Duke of Sussex.
Yes.
Wow. Is that your opinion, or?
It is. It is.
Ian, is that what you saw?
Yes, I mean, I think there's something underlying that as well, which is quite interesting. So if you look at how boards of trustees should work, where the public gets their comfort from is that they live in a rules-based governance framework, which in this case is regulated by the Charity Commission. And you're expecting the board to act independently, to support the charitable objects and support the interests of the organisation as a whole. If you get some trustees or a part of the board which is serving an external party, that can create a number of difficulties and it can create dysfunctionality. Because if they are serving over and above the interests of the charity as a whole, you can get into
That makes sense.
A muddle.
To be absolutely clear here, you're saying, Sophie, number one, that...
And from what I understand, this is where it went wrong, where Harry and Meghan's interests vis-a-vis their Netflix show became a greater concern than their commitments to the said charity, Sentebale. Anyway, they explain it better than I could.
What you discovered was essentially donors were walking because of the prince's reputation.
Yes.
Let me put to you what some of the members of the board had said about essentially these allegations. Sky News spoke to Dr. Kelele Leratoli earlier on this week, and she said, I've been in all the meetings, conduct of the board has been one of respect for each other. All of this came as a shock to me. What exactly is the difference then?
Okay. I'll give
Dr. Leratoli doesn't recognise the picture Dr. Leratoli doesn't recognise the picture you're painting.
Two sides to every story.
I'll answer that question in two parts, and Ian, it would be good to get your perspective as well. I'll be very direct with respect to Dr. Kelly. He had the worst attendance record. Wow. And even when he was in the meetings, he didn't actually contribute that much. So I'm not surprised that he didn't know much of what was going on in the organization.
To be fair, I mean, he's not here to answer for himself.
Yes.
But what he's saying is that when he was in the meetings, there was no conflict. Everything was pretty straightforward. And he can't see the allegations that you're making about poor governance in his experience. He doesn't recognise them.
I think as a matter of fact,
I tell you, that's an easy one to solve. It will be reflected in their books, would it not?
I mean, he wasn't in all the meetings. And if you have irregular attendance, then you're not going to see the trend over a long time.
So here is here's the thing to remember. There were meetings definitely where Dr. Kelly was not present, and there was belligerence, and there was an insistence on, raising of topics that were not even on the agenda of the day. An example might be Prince Harry decides on a specific occasion that he wants to appoint an individual to the board with immediate effect without having talked to me. It's not on the agenda. And somehow everybody's just supposed to tolerate that.
The he being here, Prince Harry.
Yes, Prince.
So Prince Harry comes into the meeting and says, I want to appoint somebody as CEO.
And as a board member, as a trustee with immediate effect, his proxy on the board says, yes, I second that motion. The third proxy on the board says, welcome to the board, Brian. And everybody's shocked and quiet. But this is what happens when the prince is in the room.
That's what I call old school. I'm the boss way of organizing a team, professionally speaking.
And no one has the courage to speak.
This caused more arguments than...
I think that tells us enough, pretty much for now anyway, on this story. Like I said, it's fairly old news, so a lot must have happened since then. There's updates to come. I'm sure if I touch on this subject again, you'll be brought up to date and see where we are now, if the organization even exists. For now, I can only say, be good, be safe, be creative. CornerSpeak, we out.